Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cleveland Sports Bros podcast. I'm Matt alongside my brother Nick. We're here on a Browns Victory Monday. Nick, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Excited to talk about the Browns win. It was an extremely exciting game right down to the wire.
Yeah, we'll bring a Cavs recap as well too. They had a nice win, their second win so far this year over the Golden State Warriors. This time in Golden State. So we'll bring a little recap of that after this. But first, let's jump right into the Browns. Awesome win. They were about a touchdown dog by most accounts going into this game. I know at the beginning of the season, I picked the Browns to lose this game, and I still thought that they were going to lose going into the game. What'd you think?
Yeah, definitely. I probably many Browns fans, and certainly the national media. I had little hopes of Cleveland winning this game, and any win is big, but it's kind of a double win when you grab it against your division and a division rival, I should say, and they're a half game out of first to take the lead in the North, and just you know they didn't have the lead until the final play, and a lot of things were going wrong. They didn't quit.
Yeah, and it was one of the craziest games I've ever watched. I'm sure many fans have ever watched. I mean, to start the second play of the game, the first pass play of the game, pick six from Deshaun Watson, where he walked into the end zone. And then, quickly after that, the Browns were down 14-0. Seems like we could only get field goals. Seemed like we were just having bad penalties that kind of bailed out Baltimore at certain points in the game that either would have held them to three that allowed them to get in the end zone. We had that fumble on the punt after a big stop. The missed PHE. Deshaun fumbled on the final drive, but luckily was recovered by Wyatt Teller. Tons of ups and downs, and those were all downs from a Browns fan perspective. But then a lot of crazy swings going the other way. The Newsome pick six. Myles Garrett had 1.5 sacks. We had, I think, 4 sacks as a team. Or maybe it was 3. And going into halftime, it looked like Deshaun might not play the second half. So it was kind of amazing to see what he did in the second half. Nick, can you tell us a little bit about what we saw in the second half from Deshaun?
Yeah, so it was before then, but during the second half of the game, the Browns were trailing 17-9 coming into the second half. So only a one-score game, but when you're facing the number 2 defense on the road, it's not going to be easy. And a lot of fans thinking PJ Walker's going to have to continue the game because Stefanski did put him out there for a last-second Hail Mary that was batted down at the end zone. But Deshaun fought through it. He still had to escape pressures, but he completed 14 out of 14 pass attempts. A nice touchdown pass to Elijah Moore, his first as a Brown, and Kareem Hunt ran one in. I believe that came in the first half. But adding on to that, it's a 6th straight touchdown game where Kareem got a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been dominant in the red zone, and Jerome Ford had a really good game. He had over 100 yards. So that rushing attack by the Browns continues to get better. It looks like, obviously, again, you can't say it enough that, they're missing Nick Chubb, probably the best running back in the NFL, but you got to be proud of what that running back room has done. And, the acquisition of Kareem Hunt and, Jerome Ford, proving that he can play in the NFL and not just play, but play well. And Pierre Strong, doing well too. And then Deshaun having some mobility as well. And also, let's not forget the Browns were on their 5th and 6th tackles in this game. going against a stout Baltimore defense, like you said, in Baltimore, who led the NFL in sacks going into that game, and I think still does. So just all around amazing effort by the Browns, and really thrilled that they were. I still almost can't believe that they were able to walk away with a win from that game.
Yeah, and you can go on and on about what impressed us, but one thing that surprised me, I don't know the exact numbers, but it looked like the Browns defense was able to contain Lamar pretty well when it comes to him trying to getting a run going with his own legs. Uh, you know, he's certainly become a better threat when it comes throwing the football. He had a nice slant route that went for a touchdown that went to Odell Beckham Jr. But Garrett had 1.5 sacks on him, and it was a good job by the defense. All three phases, offense, defense, special teams, didn't quit, and they, even after Dustin Hopkins missed what would have been the game-tying PAT, the defense got the ball back for him and gave him a chance. And Stefanski did a tremendous job, as did Watson, making sure there was no remaining time for Baltimore to go down the field again.
Yeah, it was a really well executed, 4-minute drill, really. And kind of another highlight was when the offensive line pushed Jerome forward an extra 5, 6, 7 yards, whatever it was. That was really cool to see. And I think it was Nick Harris who gave a big fist pump after that. You could tell that the Browns O-line was fired up and the whole team was fired up. And one thing I wanted to ask, do you think Kevin Stefanski outcoached John Harbaugh in that game?
I think he did, and the reason I say that is, what's the running back's name?
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell. He had an amazing. He's fast. He got by, you know, Martin Emerson, and had that big rushing touchdown. And I think Harbaugh relied too much on Lamar's arm in that game when they had a two score lead. And I think if they would have kept the ball on the ground maybe a little bit more, it would have been certainly more tough for Cleveland to come back. And that's a mistake I saw Harbaugh made.
Yeah, I totally agree. Keaton Mitchell, he had that 139-yard touchdown run where he outran everybody on the Browns defense. He's incredibly fast. He had 3 total carries, so it was that run and 2 others, and that was it for him in that game. I couldn't believe it in hindsight that he only touched the ball 3 times. And then as a team, Baltimore, including Lamar Jackson running, carried the ball 24 times to the Browns 36. So the Browns had 178 yards on the ground and Baltimore had 106. So just kind of odd coaching decision, I would say. And, we'll take it as Browns fans, but I think Stefanski is really proving himself, not only to be a good play caller. And again, he's not perfect. No coach is, but also be a good game manager and being able to change kind of his game plan throughout the game as needed, with what the other coach and what the other team is giving you, and just getting his players in the right spot to execute and win games. So I'm really excited about that.
And one more final point on the Browns. This is more the entirety of the schedule, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's 3 big games, and what I mean is, it's basically rivalry week for the AFC North. Browns face Pittsburgh, and the Bengals face the Ravens. If the Browns can win and the Bengals can win, they're tied for the AFC North, or they're alone, I should say. But going even further, if the Eagles can beat the Chiefs, then they're tied for the number 1 seed to take the AFC.
Yeah, that would be really amazing. So it's actually exciting as Browns fans. We got a nice, fun Thursday night matchup, like you said, to watch. Cincinnati at Baltimore. this Thursday. And then, win or lose, or it really doesn't matter too much who wins that game. Obviously, from a just pure playoff standpoint, but if you want to win the division, which every fan would want to, you're kind of cheering for Cincinnati in that game. But again, whether or not they win doesn't matter all too much to me. And then take care of business on Sunday against Pittsburgh, kind of a revenge game. I think Nick Chubb going down really hurt that team. Obviously, from a talent standpoint, but just from an emotional standpoint too. I'm looking forward to them taking care of business on Sunday, and wow, wouldn't that be amazing? And then Monday night, like you said, Eagles are perfectly capable of beating the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are really good too. Let's not take anything away from them, but for the Browns to be after 10 weeks, then tied for first in the entire AFC, that would be amazing. And it would just, it's already going to be a fun second half of the season, but that would be even better. So we'll see. We've got a nice fun week of football ahead. And we'll definitely bring you updates. Wanted to touch on the Cavs real quick. They played Saturday night in Golden State, took care of business, had a real good game, and won. Final score was 118 to 110. Nick, what'd you see from the Cavs in that game?
Harris, however, really lit it up. He was super dependent, I think, mostly for the second half. And I don't have, a bunch of stats on him, but one thing that's just extremely noticeable, maybe I just didn't pay close enough attention last year when it comes to Levert. He's very dependable from 3-point shooting, and you got Allen and Mitchell and Garland back, so your main core back, and Mobley was getting in on the action. It's kind of hard to pay attention to them because the OSU game was still going on. They beat up Michigan State 38-3, but all around I heard, it was mostly Levert, Garland, Mitchell taking care of business, and it was the first. They swept the season series against the Warriors, a big foe of ours.
Yeah, so great win by the Cavs. They're in the middle of a tough road trip right now, but those, I feel like, were very often games that the Cavs would just lose. It's hard to go on the road out west or long road trips, wherever they are. It always seems like those don't end well. So still have a few more games out west, but really glad to see that one and take it to the Warriors, who, we of course have that recent history with. So really good to see that. But yeah, and one more thing, you mentioned the Buckeyes dominant win over Michigan State. That was pretty much expected. Now both them and Michigan got to take care of business one more time, and then it could be a 1-2 matchup or a 1-3 matchup, something like that, hopefully for the game the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So looking forward to that, and we'll certainly bring updates for the Buckeyes in the near future too. So all right, Nick, anything else to add?
No.
All right, everyone, thank you again for listening. You've been listening to the Cleveland Sports Bros podcast.